Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, October 14th, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Dan Rubin in just a moment. We're calling this the glass half full, glass half empty show. Are you a glass half full person as a Buckeye fan right now? Hey, all the goals are still ahead of them. If they win out, all is good. Or are you a glass half empty? Okay, that's all well and good to say that, but there are too many holes. Can't see this team achieving their goals because of those issues. Which one are you? You somewhere in between. Dan and I are going to get into, at least I'm going to talk about how I can make arguments on both sides. I'm sure Dan can as well. We're going to get into all that. We'll take some of your questions. Before we do that, I'm really happy to announce our latest sponsor to the show, Cornbread Hemp. It's a new company from Kentucky, Cornbread Hemp. Very unique. Again, very excited to announce them as our latest sponsor of the show. And Cornbread Hemp has a great deal that you guys can get. Okay, if you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. What they've done is they've created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that's 100% legal for anyone 21 and above. We know it's like you can get the high potency stuff in Ohio that's legal now. In Kentucky, where their company is from, it's not even legal there yet as far as dispensaries and stuff, but this is legal because it's not very high dosage. Cornbread's gummies have 10 milligrams of THC per gummy for just the right dose, perfect for taking the edge off without making you feel anxious or paranoid like other cannabis edibles can do. Cornbread uses no harsh solvents like petrochemicals or industrial acids, unlike most hemp THC products. In fact, they do not use any synthetic ingredients at all. Again, if you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They've created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that's 100% legal. As a special offer for Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use promo code Bucknuts at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. And use code Bucknuts for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a happier, healthier happy hour. Love it. All right, here we go. Cheers to Dan Rubin, which was the more enjoyable Monday morning. But I've talked about so much about this game. I'm curious to get all of your takes, but I don't know. I'm going to start with my list that I've created here. I'm going to get your reaction to that, and then we can go from there. So I have my little list that I created of glass half full, glass half empty. It's a short list. There's a lot of things we could say. I'll start with the positive. Glass half full. If you're a glass half full Buckeye, here's what we're looking at right now. Listen, if they win out the rest of the regular season, okay, they're going to be 11-1, and they will be playing Oregon most likely in a rematch in the Big Ten championship game in Indy. Okay, and good chance Ohio State would be favored in that game. They win that game, they're 12-1. They're Big Ten champs. They have a top 4 seed, probably a top 2 seed, and a bye in the CFP, right where they want to be. And that would obviously include a win over Michigan. Penn State's going to be tricky, but we'll get to that in a moment. So that's glass half full. Listen, it's still a very talented team. All the goals are right there. And it's not like some long shot where all the goals are right there. Like it's legit. Okay. The other thing is they lost by 1 point on the road at night in a hostile environment against the number 3 team in the nation. Now the number 2 team in the nation. So it was by 1 point at Autzen against a really good team. Okay. It's not like they got blown out by Minnesota or something in the Horseshoe. Not to bring back any memories from the year 2000 or anything like that. Almost got Glenn Mason the job. That's how bad that 2000 Minnesota game was. Top 5 Ohio State gets blown up by Minnesota at home. They almost gave Glenn Mason the Ohio State job the next year just because of that game, but I digress. Drink. Okay, again, lost by 1 point on the road to the number 3 team in the country. I mean, that's if that's your worst loss, you're going to be fine. Even Virginia Tech, that was a pretty bad loss. They win the national championship. Okay, the last thing for glass half full, could this wake them up? I'm a big believer in the mental side of sports, okay? These guys, no matter what they said, I think they were a little overconfident. Some of them a lot overconfident, okay? Will this wake them up? Okay, were they too high on themselves, and now this will focus them? We'll find out. All right, glass half empty. Don't worry, we're going to get to all of Dan's thoughts. Most of this is going to be Dan talking. I'm just hogging it right now. All right, glass half empty. Defense is vastly overrated, and it's hard to see this stuff getting fixed, okay? They give up too many big plays, far too many big plays, and they're a poor tackling defense. That's a horrible combination, my friends. You're giving up a bunch of chunk plays, and you're a horrible tackling defense. And a lot of times those things are intertwined. Sometimes this is Denzel Burke deep. So again, and I'm a big believer. I can't think of anything in sports you can be great at that you don't practice. And thudding up in practice is not practicing tackling. We always talk about Chris Ash. Day before the national championship game against Oregon, they were practicing tackling to the ground because of the rugby-style tackling. Ohio State also had the fewest amount of missed tackles in the country that year, 2014 season. So that's one thing. I mean, is this, if you're a glass half empty person, I mean, do we see this team becoming a good tackling defense all of a sudden when they don't practice it? That's not going to magically happen. Okay, so I don't know how you can go far with this defense. Okay, now the best offensive lineman on the team. The offensive line's overall been pretty solid, better than I expected, and I thought I was cautiously optimistic that'd be good. Now the best offensive lineman, in my opinion, Josh Simmons, lost for the year most likely. So Zen Michalski's now your starting left tackle. Now Zen I thought played okay, held his own, but if you're a glass half empty, you go from Josh Simmons, your best lineman, to now a backup in Zen. That's not good. However you want to cut it. Okay, no ability to throw vertically. I just got this one and one more. I don't see any ability to throw vertically in the passing game. Whether that's Will Howard can't do it, they don't think the line can hold up long enough, whatever it might be, especially when you had at times 2 starting linemen out, and at least Tegra was able to come back in. No ability to throw the ball vertically. Everything's to the sideline, intermediate, short, no vertical passing threat at all. And that allows the defense to cheat up. Oregon early on was getting gashed. They were able to adjust and say, okay, we're not going to let you do that left tackle. We're gonna stack the box over there, and good luck with that. Last thing, poor clock management. I mean, that was as bad as it gets. But we've seen this a little bit here and there. And it was supposed to be better this year because Ryan Day was able to take a step back. Chip Kelly's running the offense, so Ryan can take care of things like calling a timeout after that offensive pass interference, whether you think that was a good call, bad call, somewhere in between. The clock was running. It was like nobody on Ohio State knew it. You had to call a timeout there. And then, of course, the final play of the game. I've never seen an Ohio State game end like that. Terrible clock management. All right, glass half full, glass half empty. Dan, after saying all that, I think I'm probably more glass half full and glass half empty. A lot to break down there. Floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I agree with almost everything you said. I can't really think of anything I blatantly disagree with. And I'm glad, and I told you, Dave, that I purposely only watch what we learned live. I try not to watch any of the other coverage. Believe it or not, there are other wrap-up shows, meaning you literally cannot consume content if you're trying to avoid it. And then when you have my other squad taking it the way they did, I basically am not allowed to watch television today. Not that that one wasn't surprising. So don't think, those of you that take glee in my sorrow, Saturday night was much more impactful. All right. I have also not commented on this purposely because I like to keep my I want to make sure that all my comments are my own. That's the main reason I don't watch the shows. I actually watch most of the game with the sound down, believe it or not, because I'm so easily influenced.
That was a good night to do it with no openly rooting for Oregon, but whatever.
Yeah. I'll say this. The biggest thing that happened in the game was the Simmons injury, without question. That lowers the team's ceiling. That's just a fact. That's not even an arguable point. Now, does it mean that the ceiling has been lowered below where they can win the national championship? I don't think so, but there's no argument to this. There are some mock drafts you can look at that have Josh Simmons as the first Buckeye pick in next year's draft. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that, but that's not a position that is easily replaced at any level of football. The left tackle is they made the movie The Blind Side for a reason. So that's invaluable. That lowers the ceiling.
That reason was to screw over Michael Oher. No, that was not the reason. No, that was not the reason, Dan.
That's a deep legal vibe to that one. I thought Zen played surprisingly well.
Yeah.
Maybe the play calling was altered slightly or drastically, but it wasn't like he became a turnstile and the entire team shifted. When I look back on the game, my prediction for the game in the roundtable was 31-20 Ohio State. They scored 30 points. So while there was parts of the offense that I think definitely could be, that made me giggle too. There's some parts of the offense can definitely be critiqued. The defense, man, I really don't know what to say about that. There was a point in the game against Michigan last year where Ohio State tied the game at 17 in the third quarter, had a 12-play drive, only went to third down once, tied it, and it was, okay, here we go. Michigan got the ball back, 7-play drive, touchdown, no third down needed. When Oregon got the ball at the end of the game last Saturday night, I was convinced we were not going to be able to stop them. That is not a good feeling. That is not what the intention was for this season. So that I don't know how to interpret as when you see the defense play that poorly. Like, who on the defense, Dave, did you think had a good game?
Who on the defense had a good game?
I got one guy.
Okay, let me
1.5.
Caden Curry? I don't know. Is that who you're thinking of?
I go Caleb Downs, and Sonny played all right.
Caleb Downs, they're not using him well enough.
Fine, but he didn't play poorly.
No. I'm agreeing with that. I'm just saying
the other guys played poorly.
This kid should be a first-team All-American. He was 107 tackles as a true freshman at Alabama. That's like one game he's made a big impact against, and it's not his fault. Because they activated him against Michigan State. How about you activate him all the time?
Couple other things. I'm kind of going stream of consciousness here, so I hope people can bear with me. They've become mistake now in big games early on. It started with the Michigan game 2 years ago, unfortunately 3 years ago, where every pass seemed like it was a little pass where they were getting it to. The plays didn't work particularly well. And now this year, they're turning it over. And the Judkins turnover was terrible. You cannot do that. I mean, the Jeremiah Smith turnover the weekend before, that's terrible. We've talked so much about how there are limited possessions in college football games now. And to give up a possession like that when you're cruising. Also, I believe, and you can hear my children will tell you this, I believe 14-0 is a magic number. When you start a football game, get it, score, 3-and-out score, that's my favorite thing in a football game. Okay. Is it because when the Cowboys do that, they're basically undefeated, and when they don't do that, they lose? Possibly. But let's see Ohio State get up 14-0 now and dictate terms. The first drive was so pretty. If you go back and look, it wasn't even chunk plays. It was just this work, that work, this work, that work, touchdown. Stop them, get the ball back. 14-0. They are going to panic. They already felt like they were a little the underdog. And that fumble was terrible. Here's another thing that was terrible. I've been told by an NFL scout, the number one judge of a defense is sudden change. How do you react when something goes poorly? They scored in 2 plays like Ohio State was feeling sorry for themselves already. So I can't explain that. That's a flaw. The last 4 big games they've been in, it's come down to the last possession. They've had the ball. So it was the 2 Michigan games. Georgia, Michigan, Notre Dame last night. They won one of them, and it was because the other team didn't follow the rules for how many players you can have on the field. Okay? If we're getting to the end of the game, and you mentioned it, and we have a coach who's given up play calling to focus on CEO-like stuff, you can't have clock management issues. That's the number one thing you can't have. You need proper organization. Okay? If you're making a move to organize things, the organization needs to be a strength. I felt like Oregon was the aggressor. I have a question for you because I have not followed this. Has it been determined officially whether the special teams kick off number 48 was intentional or not?
Yeah, it was.
It was intentional. They were the aggressor. Let me just tell you something. Teams don't do that when they think they're better than you. Okay? They were the aggressor. You could feel it. They were trying to get – say again?
Because of that penalty, which I think if it's third down and you score a touchdown, since when were you giving you the option and then you get the touchdown and then you get it on the kickoff? Like, really? They got 15 yards on that kick, so they're kicking off from midfield. So there really wasn't much of a risk for them.
But I would like to know what 48 was told before he went out there. I'm not mentioning his name.
C.J. Hicks.
Is that who it was? Oh, they flipped the jersey on special teams.
He had to put a different uniform on.
I got it. So I missed that part. See, I did.
Because him and just in case, I don't know if Ennis was, because just in case him and Ennis are out there together, which they are.
Okay, that proves that I purposely don't follow that so I don't get jaundiced.
Oh, I didn't. I only follow that because I don't know.
Yeah, but still.
I had to talk about it after the game.
The vibe of that play, you should be told when you go out there, watch for the tomfoolery and hijinks, especially with a guy like Lanning and Autzen when they're trying to gain control of the crowd, etc. Let's see if I have any other things on here that I really wanted. Yeah, the mistake-prone in big games early one is really one that's unfortunate because that feels like a trend to me, and that feels like lack of preparation.
Oh, they were saying that was Downs. I'm sorry.
Was it Caleb Downs, really?
I'm sorry. It was Downs. My bad. I don't know why I thought it was
interesting. They put Caleb Downs up on the front of the
I fault everybody. Everybody's saying, my bad. It was Downs. You guys are right.
Well, if that's the case, that's a shame.
Because Emeka's wearing two. I'm sorry, guys. You guys are right.
Wow, that kind of surprised me. Anyway, I can't go back and now say he had a great game given that.
That was tough, though, man. You got like a ball flying at you, knuckling at you, like from that close range. That was lucky. I mean, bet you that kicker, if he did that 100 times, might be able to do it twice. Probably just that once. Somebody else said that with C.J. Hicks.
What I'm going to remember about that is the idea that they did it in the first place, not who it went off.
Now we're having people say they think it might have been Hicks. We'll find out. It doesn't matter. No, somebody else said it was.
It's not number 48 in your program. That's a fact.
Whoever it was has 5 letters in their last name. We've cracked that code, baby. It was either Downs or Hicks. All right, now it sounds like it was Hicks. Go with your first instinct, I guess.
Here's the half full. They are favored in every game from here on out. I checked. Right now, early line is they're giving 4 at Penn State. If you watch Penn State beat USC, it took 2 miracle 4th down catches by the one and only Julian Fleming to extend that game. They did not control USC at all. I don't see Penn State as being as good as Oregon. Their ranking, the way it felt after the game and then seeing their ranking didn't match up. They're still ranked perfectly fine. Like you said, they've been credited for losing on the road by 1 point at number 2 at night. I also think there's going to be I don't necessarily think there should be an excuse. I do think there's going to be an excuse made for East Coast teams going west, considering nobody's ever won yet. I think they're like 1-10. So that's going to be another excuse.
No press conferences this week for those that are saying, well, just, when you get a chance to ask Ryan Day, ask him all these things. And this has nothing to do with the loss. We were told before the game, nothing this week. So everybody can, including the press, that's not why they're doing it, can kind of have a week, not off. Dan and I are doing the show right now. We're not taking the week off, but as far as any press conferences at Ohio State, not happening this week. And again, I'm not joking with you guys. You guys know I'm a straight shooter. At least I hope you know that. I would tell you. They told us this last Thursday, we're not doing any interviews this week. So it has nothing to do with them losing to Oregon and they're hiding from the media. This was predetermined. So no interviews this week, my friends, unless they change something.
Yeah, the OPI, I feel like everybody else. I don't think that ref has ever seen a receiver like that bump into somebody like that. I think Jeremiah got punished for being a stud in that case, just being built like steel. So that was unfortunate. The Howard arm strength one that people are complaining about, they're not going down the field. That one I think could be in half empty and half full because I'm torn on that one. In that, are the plays being called? And if they are, and he's checking it down, or when he's throwing it deep, He's been short on a couple plays. That's a challenge. I'm not sure about that one.
I agree with this. I mean, maybe we're not talking. I mean, Gabriel never once looked uncomfortable to me.
Nah.
He's a 5'10" quarterback going against this. Now he's stocky. He's stocky. He's not like Bryce Young. He
didn't get hit.
He's beat. Well, he didn't get hit, right? And like, how do you? I mean, sacks is one thing. Not having a sack, that's frustrating. But like, at least if you're hitting him, making him uncomfortable, making him do things he doesn't want to do, knocking him around, getting in his face, there was none of that.
Listen, Jack Sawyer.
I think there's a major. I think there's no way I'm breaking news to anybody here, including you, Dan. I think there's a major disconnect between Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson.
It doesn't make any sense. There's issues with, boy, those first four played a ton in the first half. I think Kenyatta got in there on like the fifth or sixth drive. They were gassed. I know that Jack Sawyer was apparently leading the country in pressure rate. I got a couple texts that from NFL guys that will get into the boarding house that aren't going to be pleasant about some of the guys on defense playing selfish. But I said before the game, it was going to be a referendum on the defensive line. They believe they can rush for and get to the quarterback. Every quarterback before this, they had hit several times and either forced a fumble or forced him out of the game. Once Gabriel got comfortable, it was over. He looked so smooth back there. He was a little rattled early on when they were getting to him. But once he got comfortable, like when he ran that one in from distance. Also, we had just way too many missed tackles, man. Just from a classic sense of, I mean, Cody Simon had one on Jordan James early in the game that let him bust. They were in the right spots. They just make the tackles.
Where are you at with what I'm saying? And I fully understand that even though that they did it in 2014, the day before the national championship game, if you're tackling somebody to the ground, even if it's rugby style tackling, whatever we're doing, we're playing backyard football right now. We're tackling to the ground. There's a chance we're going to get hurt, right? But like, there's nothing in sports you can be great at if you don't practice it. They've got to reassess tackling because it's not all of a sudden going to be like, all right, we're just going to get good at it now. We don't practice it. We're bad at it in the games. We don't practice it. We practice thudding, which is not the same thing. And I get it. You're risking injury, but like,
so do we know that? So here's my question. Did we not practice tackling and Oregon did?
Well, I don't know that, but I do know Knowles has said many times, you can't practice it. I almost want to I've already asked the question. It's very formal. Like it's all on you. It's not like it used to be where he's just, which I do like that it's more formal because that's not everybody yelling over each other. And that coach trying to pick of the 8 people that are yelling, which one do I answer? But he said it now a few times where he's like, he says it like it's a fact. You can't really practice tackling in practice. Yes, you can. Not the previous defensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator was here 10 years ago, was practicing tackling to the ground the day before the national championship game. And that team had the least amount of missed tackles of any college football team in the country, and they won the national championship. The defense rests.
Guess what? That team had better defensive players, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did. But we thought this team was going to be.
I know, dude, but look, I told my son yesterday, I'm going to come on the air and apologize for certain things. Here's my first one, and it's going to be a digression. I apologize for telling everyone to pick Marvin Harrison in fantasy. I forgot who his quarterback was. That guy is not good at throwing the football to his number one receiver. But I also kind of felt like this Saturday night.
You digress.
We just throw it to Jeremiah Smith on every play. I know people are going to say that sounds simple. Can we just do it? You have Shaq. Throw him the ball. Get it in the post. I don't understand it. They were fearing him so big time. I don't know. But another one was, I had faith in the guys coming back that they would be improved. There would be some old man strength involved. That all the talk about getting that. It's just they are what they are, man. They're a good group of defensive linemen. Tyreek didn't have a huge impact on the game. I really thought we were going to be able to stop the run up the middle. The depth you and I have touted about the interior depth barely played.
Caden McDonald needs to play more. Hero Canoe gets in there and doesn't do anything.
No. Caden McDonald is an impact player.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, here we are. We're halfway through the regular season. Larry Johnson still doesn't know who his best backup defensive tackle is. It is clearly Caden McDonald. It's not even close. Who was the first backup D tackle to go in the game? Hero Canoe. I'm going to take a gummy right now. No, I do need to tell you guys about our other sponsor. Patrick Murphy is going to be joining the show. He wants to specifically talk about this, but no. Want to tell you guys about our other sponsor, Joy Mode, and a great deal you guys can get from Joy Mode. I've been telling you guys about them for a long time. So whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments or increase your confidence, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. All ingredients have been assessed in peer-reviewed journals. All ingredients have been studied and researched in humans. So it comes in a palm-sized packet like your favorite electrolyte powder. You simply mix it with 6 to 8 ounces of water, 45 minutes before any activity, and watch the magic unfold, literally. So the issue with over-the-counter pills is they contain unregulated chemicals, they suggest unsafe doses, and they include the risk of several other health problems, and that's why we partnered with our friends over at Joy Mode, because they're all natural and science-backed. Go to tryjoymode.com/bucknuts. Get 20% off with code Bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code Bucknuts at tryjoymode.com/Bucknuts. Bam.
Dave, one thing I also want to comment on, if you see my eyes shifting over here, those of you playing at home, it's because I'm trying to read the comments and some of them make me chuckle.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, I don't have access to the all 22 tape, and I'm not claiming to be a defensive mind better than Jim Knowles, but I saw Ty Hamilton drop into coverage on consecutive plays. And I don't understand that. I don't understand if we're trying to reinvent the wheel there. It just seems like we were grasping at straws. Even after the game, the little bit that I watched of Knowles talking, he looked incredulous. It looks like things didn't go the way they expected. That scares me more than anything. It's one thing to make bad decisions. It's another thing to have an idea of how things are going to go and be ill-prepared because of it. The matchups did not seem good. Every one of our defensive backs, besides Caleb Downs, got a bad penalty or got cooked. Igbinosun got cooked the one time they needed to go to him on 3rd and long. Hancock cooked the one time they needed to go on 3rd and long. Lord knows what they did to Burke. I mean, this is Jeez. I can tell you this. I got 2 texts from 2 different NFL sources during the game about Burke. And it wasn't about him moving up in the draft. Okay. I can't explain that. Every clutch situation down the stretch worked for them and not for us. A couple of the coverages looked like the guys were surprised by the routes, by the speed of the other team. The part about cockiness that you said at the beginning, they may be overconfident. Evan Stewart and Tez, is it Johnson, ran away from them.
Yep.
Ran away. Okay. It wasn't that's not schematic. That is the other guy's faster than you. And you weren't prepared and your angles were bad all game long. I don't understand. There's no way to look back at the way Burke played and just not say he was completely unprepared for the game. Either he didn't know the guys were that fast, he got the calls wrong, he was in the wrong coverage or something. I mean, he wasn't beat by a step. He was beat by 3 or 4 steps.
And then he wasn't tackling either.
The tackling is he
and then he's
Trayvon Diggs thought that was bad tackling.
Everything. That's why I would have pulled him. Corners are going to get beat deep. That happens even twice. Shouldn't happen more than once. Once it happens once, you better get beat deeper than the deepest if you're in man coverage. And you don't. If you have no safety help, you better be deeper than the deepest. We all know that. But even then, I probably wouldn't have pulled him after the second one. After the second one, then he's up there like refusing to tackle. Like, what are you doing? Like, I mean,
it was almost like
the worst performance I've seen from an Ohio State corner. I know we're prisoners of the moment. And I remember Nate Clements in 2000 against Minnesota. I remember Marlon Kerner in 1994 against Illinois. I remember bad performances. This was the worst. And yeah, it was against a really good team. But Dylan Gabriel should not have looked that good. And Denzel Burke falling asleep at the wheel early in the game allowed Gabriel to get all that. I mean, you could even see it. The ball was like not even barely out of his hand, and you could see it like, oh my God, he's wide open by, as you were saying, by like 5 yards. And you could just see it's like in slow motion. Oh, well, this is going to be, unless he drops it, this is going to be a long reception. I mean, Burke was awful. I would put Jermaine Matthews in there for sure.
Hollywood Hager, did anything positive happen? Depends how you look at it. I mean, of course, some that's so funny. Being Burke gives me Sean Wade vibes. Someone in my family may have texted me the exact same thing during the game.
I thought Will Howard played really well for most of the game.
I got no problem with Howard.
The touchdown to Jeremiah Smith was fantastic. I mean, it looked like he was going to get sacked. He rolls out and then throws an absolute pinpoint pass to JJ. That his touchdown to Emeka was on point. And of course, he had some boneheaded plays. That one at the end is what we're all going to remember. They never should have been in that spot. The irony is Ryan Day talked about, and he talked about it after the game. I knew he would. He talked about it all offseason, all during camp, and during the first few games of the year. What did he say? We have to leave no doubt. We can't let it in the officials' hands for the offensive pass. Whatever you think about that call, good, bad, indifferent, you can't leave it in the officials' hands there. You can't leave it in the hands of, well, yeah, we'll trust our fifth-year senior quarterback to know. You can't, he's got to get down before then. But they never should have been in that position. Another thing, going back and watching it, I think they completely fell asleep at the wheel after the Jeremiah Smith offensive pass interference. The clock started, and it's like Ohio State. Nobody on Ohio State's team knew the clock started.
This is my point.
Nobody knew. And you don't want to burn your last time out, but then you had to right there. I mean, they didn't. But somebody needed to be the adult in the room and say, okay, calm down. That was a bad call. At least they thought it was a bad call. I would concur. I'd say if you're going to call that on Jeremiah Smith, fine. We'll play letter of the law. We can play that game. DB grabbed him. DB grabbed Jeremiah. So you want to play letter of the law, then call holding, offsetting penalties. Anyway, so the clock's running after that. Ohio State's pissed off about the call, but nobody realizes the clock is running.
But that's where an offensive coach who's now the CEO should be on top of that.
Right.
You should have 4 or 5 options for that. What else are you doing all week? No
I know.
offense.
Yep. I know. And I like Ryan Day, but that's on him.
And believe me, I'm good at watching bad football. I have a professional expert in watching guys run the clock out when they should be kicking field goals.
Oh, I do too. Trust me. Even though last night went okay for my Bengals, it's not because of anything that was stellar on the coaching.
We both beat the Giants. I don't think those even count.
We have Joe Burrow and they have Daniel Jones. We have Jamar Chase and Neighbors was sitting out the game.
Yeah, we knocked them out for you because they threw it to him on every single play, by the way. And the guy got concussed. Shocker in the NFL.
Well, I shouldn't say I think he's okay. He's going to a Travis Scott concert with all the lights. And I don't know if you guys have been to concerts ever. I'm joking. It's kind of loud. If you have a concussion, you might not want to go to a concert where it's lights and extremely loud. So I think Neighbors is okay, but I was okay with him not playing yesterday against the Bengals for sure. He's a stud.
So Dave, half full.
Half full. Yeah, let's go.
Do you still believe? So I call some of these games mirror games. And I mean by that is win or lose, can you look in the mirror after the game and consider yourself a legit threat to win the title? You can do this in the NFL too. Sure, this is meant to offend my friends who are Browns fans. The Cowboys can beat the Browns. It don't mean nothing. They're not going to win anything. Even by the end of that game, had we won the game, I still would have had a lot of these same worries based on how the defense performed. So, mirror-wise, do they still have the abilities, not the right choice of word, but I think everyone follows me. Can they look in the mirror still this morning and think we are a legitimate threat for the national championship? I would say yes.
Yeah, especially this year. I mean, Texas looks really good, but with our 2 marquee wins are Michigan, who looks like a disaster, and Oklahoma, who I bet
there's no juggernaut.
So, and I mean, if there is one, maybe it's Texas. I've been saying if there is one, maybe it's Ohio State. No, but yeah, I mean, I like that. Can you look in the mirror and say, and be honest, do we really have a legit shot of winning the national championship still? Yes. I say yes, they do, because they have the talent. Again, they lost by 1 point on the road to another team that's on the short list of legit national championship contenders. You lose by 1 point. You really should have won. And I do think they're going to run the table. Penn State's not going to be easy. That's, Steve,
I'm going to simplify this
thing in the world, but I do think that I think I'm going to be traveling to Indy for the Ohio State-Oregon rematch. And I think Ohio State's going to beat Oregon in Indy.
I honestly believe this. If Ohio State does not turn the ball over in the first half of any of the rest of their games, they will win all of the rest of their games, including the college football playoff. It's that simple to me. If we can get a team on their heels for once in our life and dictate the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game and let Chip's, plan completely form, I think they'll win. The problem is they make a terrible turnover at some point in time in the first half, and it throws everything out of whack. So that's my prediction. If they do not turn it over in the first half, now that's probably unrealistic, just given the way football has got some random vibes. But if they don't turn it over in the first half, they'll win. Dave.
I agree. I like that. There's certain things when you just keep it simple. It's like going to the Oregon game. Like whoever wins the rushing battle is probably going to win. Who won the rushing battle?
If
Not
you
Ohio
have
State.
I said this the other day when I was doing the predictions for the roundtable, and I felt like I was just stating the obvious. But if you have the best team, the most talent, you just don't have to make any bad mistakes, and you're going to win. That's what that means. Don't turn it over. Don't get don't get any pre-snap penalties. I cannot take any more pre-snap penalties. They overcame a bunch of them. Pre-snap penalties mean lack of preparation. Okay. I don't care. I don't care about the sound. I don't care. You cannot false start. It's unacceptable. Pre-snap penalties get you killed. God, there was a lot of pre-snap penalties. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was bad.
Holy cow.
I get it. I get it's loud. I understand, but still.
What does that even mean? These guys have been playing high school football in front of 10,000 people. They're the best high school players and college players in the country who are going to go play a professional sport that has $100,000 in the stands.
And they were talking about it all week.
Start on sound.
They knew. They were when we were over there for interviews Tuesday, hours before the team even got out there, the audio people for Ohio State's football team they were practicing pumping in the crowd noise. And then when we were out there Wednesday, you could hear it. I mean, they were practicing with the blaring in crowd noise. They knew what they were getting into. So yeah, I mean, when I say I get it, I don't excuse it. They
it's
knew
the
what they're
explanation versus excuse approach. I agree.
Once or twice, okay, whatever. You're
Sure.
right. I mean, I lost count of how many times. What they have, like
back to back is embarrassing.
Those are killers.
Back to back in front of the crowd. Those, drunk people like penalties against the other team consecutively. I just learned in terms of sound. It's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. Those are the ones that scare me because that's lack of preparation. Sean Duffy, mental laziness. I agree. Those are pre-snap penalties to me are just unacceptable. They're unacceptable in high school football. That's how you lose. So
right.
that part I don't get and don't accept by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, we hope this is a therapeutic edition of the Bucknuts Morning 5. Hey, goals are all still there. I think I'm more of a glass half full. I think Dan is as well. So
I am.
Appreciate you guys joining us. Another live, very large live audience. I don't know I don't know, Dan. Did you notice the amount of people that checked in for what we learned live? For some reason, when Ohio State does not do well, the show gets like twice as many viewers. But c'est la vie. Great stuff from Dan Rubin. Great stuff to all of you. I appreciate you guys very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.